All right, this book is called Likuti Torah. It was written by the first Rebbe of Chabad. And it's talking about a very, how do you say, a neglected topic. But believe it or not, it's the most important topic in life, the most important topic in humanity, in the world. This should be in every newspaper, all the newspapers, positive news that'll make everybody interested. Usually people are not interested in positive news. They want to see all sorts of negative things and see people lose and see people this, right? That's what can you do? That's the nature of people, the nature of people, negative nature of people. People sense that the world essentially is good and it's meaningless, but we don't see it, and it takes a lot of effort to make it. So if you see bad things happen, so that just sort of fortifies your, see, I knew it wasn't worth anything. I knew it was bad anyway, so it's better I just sit in my house, do nothing. But to see good things, well, good things that it forces you to do more. Forces you to do more. You go to see somebody doing something good, and it inspires you, it can at least inspire you to do something good. So here's the best thing in the world. Here's the good, the ultimate good there can possibly be. And that, in fact, is going to be the goal and the future of all mankind. All human beings, all humanity is going to be aware of the Creator, that He's creating us, and He's creating each and every one of us. Or in simple language, every human being will connect and be aware of her Creator. According to Hasidic teachings, that we want to open up the eyes of all mankind, that God is creating us. I know we've been over this so many times, but God is creating us, and He's creating us every instant, and He's creating us from love, from nothing, from love. The whole world is this big, incredible miracle. That's the message of Judaism. Take it or leave it, but that's the message of Judaism, right? It's almost like saying, these people come in, we'd like to talk about religion. You don't have to come in. It's already inside. It's already in. God is already creating everybody. We're not even talking about religion over here. This is just a fact of business. God is creating us. But where does the religious, if you want to call it, part, that there's responsibilities. God has certain responsibilities to us. And one of the responsibilities, the commandments, is we have to love God. We have to love God. We have to serve God, love God. And this applies to non-Jews as well. And like I said, in the future, the world will be filled with this awareness that God is creating us. He's creating us for a purpose, and He empowers us. He helps us to fulfill this purpose. Okay. So this is hinted at in this week's Torah portion. And as an extra little treat for everybody, I downloaded this thing. Let's see if I can find this. I hope this comes up on everybody's. 1 second. Let me see if this works. Let's see if this works. I did a little bit of homework today. Oh, all right. Does everybody see this? I hope you do, huh? You see this? Anybody? All right. This is the Vayikra. Yes, you see, I muted everybody, so I'm asking. Anyway, I hope everybody can see this. This is this week's Torah portion that we're talking about, right? That we're talking about. Vayikra el Moshe. God called to Moses. V'yadaber Hashem elav, and God spoke to him. Me'oel moed, from the tent of meeting, from the tabernacle, and He said like this. Oh, this is what we're talking about. Daber el bnei Yisrael, speak to the Jewish people. Amarta alehem, and speak and say to them. All right. Now we're starting the sentence that we're discussing in this mamor, in this essay. Adam ki yakriv mikem korban lashem. Simple meaning. A man, when he makes a sacrifice from you, a sacrifice. When he sacrifices, he wants to bring an animal from you to God. Lashem. Why they put the comma over here, I don't know. Korban lashem, it should be Mida behema. If you want to make it from a behema, here there should be a semicolon. I don't know who punctuated this, but it was definitely not God. In the Torah, there's no punctuations at all. And if it was, it wouldn't be punctuated like this. Mina behema, if you want to make it from the bovine, then mina bakar from cows, mina tzon from sheep or goats, takriv or korban. Then it says if you want to bring from a bird, you have to bring it like this from your young doves, older doves. If you want to bring it from meal offering, then there's all sorts of different meals offered. It talks about it here. Good. Okay. What did we explain? How did we explain this according to Hasidic teachings, the deeper teachings? Simple meaning means when there is a tabernacle, a temple, when there is a tabernacle, right? But way back then, when the Jewish people were in the land of Israel, then they had temples. There was the tabernacle, there was the first temple, the second temple. But that was already almost 2,000 years ago. Well, we say Mashiach is going to come, he's going to build a third temple, right? Okay, but right now, is this relevant to us? Right now? No, Mashiach is going to come, he's going to build a temple right now. Okay, good, he will. But first of all, okay, when is it going to happen? And what? That's all that it means. What about until there's the third temple? Does it mean so? That's what Chassidut comes. Chassidut comes and tells us, no, you don't understand. Don't get so excited. Don't get how do you say exasperated. That's a word. The fact is that the Torah, everything that's in the Torah is inside of us. Everything that's inside of the Torah is inside of us. Let's say we're talking specifically about the Jews. As I said so many times before, the Jews are God's chosen people. We're chosen to educate the whole world how much God loves everybody. And he's creating everybody. But let's take the Jewish point of view at least. Everything written in the Torah is inside of us. All the good things we have to activate. All the negative things we have to either ignore or transform. But every Jew has a holy temple. And every Jew has a lot of animals to sacrifice. And who is this man, Adam ki yakriv? A man ki yakriv, that's God. It says that Isaiah saw a man sitting on the throne. Ezekiel, they saw a vision of God sitting on the throne. This in Chassidut and Kabbalah, this explains that this is what's called the aspect of God, which is called the dimension of God, which is called dimension, which is called Atzilut. That's Adam. And he's sitting on a throne. That's the world of Bria, a little bit lower world. In any case, this Adam is referring to God. Ki Yakriv, and God brings us close. When he brings close, Mikem, from us, Korban, a sacrifice. That's why it says singular. When he makes us close. Korban la Hashem. Then what do you have to, now this is what we're going to talk about today. When God makes us close to him, he draws us close. How does God draw us close? He gives us inspiration. He gives us inspiration. He gives us a motivation. Suddenly a person starts to think, maybe I really am being created. Maybe I'm being created right now. I mean, where am I coming from? How is this whole existence coming from? And the person says, listen, either it comes from just nature and it's no question, or maybe it's really true what they say, maybe God is really creating me, and maybe he's creating me for a purpose. When all of a sudden that flashes into his mind, that's Yakriv. God is trying to make you close. He's trying to wake you up. So that's why it says singular. When he sacrifices, when he brings close, but Yakriv means to bring close also. It means to sacrifice and also to bring close. And then it says, when that happens, then you, from the animals, your animal soul, Yakriv at korbanchem, your sacrifice, this is plural. So first of all, it's third person singular, that's talking about God. And now it's talking about second person, you, your, plural, that's talking about us, our animal souls. Okay, so let's go back to what we learned before this. Can we go back? I hope we can go back. 1 minute. How do we do this? How do we do this? There is a way, secret way. Oh, I like this. Look at this one second. There we go. Oh, huh? I hope everybody can see this. Okay, it's almost too good to be true. Usually in these things, I press the wrong buttons and it's okay. So that's what it says. Here we go. That's what it means. Adam ki yakriv mikem. In other words, lashon mikem. This is the godly soul alone. The godly soul alone. God, the Rebbe stressed before The Jews they have a different sort of a spiritual makeup than all the rest of the world in regard to God. In regard to God. Non-Jews can be spiritual. They can be spiritual, but only Jews can be what they call holy. Holy means connected to the creator of the spiritual. That feeling that every Jew has, that is a self. It's an identity, a consciousness, a pure godly consciousness, not a spiritual consciousness. It could be the most non-spiritual Jew in the world that has an IQ of 20, who knows what, but he can be a godly person. He can be a simple faith in God that directs every single instant of his life. Every single instant. Never thinks about going to heaven, not about going to hell, only thinks about, I'm going to do what God wants. I'm not going to do what God forbids. Right? He's really, that's what it means that the Jews are the sons of God. That's this godly soul. Okay. So first of all, God has to arouse this godly soul that we have inside of us. He has to wake it up. And then first of all, there has to be a skafia. First of all, we have to force ourselves. Let me just see. Yeah. First of all, we have to force ourselves to do what God wants. Just one moment, please. One moment, please. One moment. What did I do? 1 second, 1 minute. All right, here we go, my friends. I'm sorry for the interruption. It was a big mistake to answer the phone call. Okay, here we go. Okay, so first of all, God arouses the godly soul. And then afterwards it says, Takrivot korbanchem. Remember I showed you. Then you have to bring the animal. What does that mean? You have to start refining your natural, normal, everyday self. Liot bebechinas eskafia, in order to force yourself to do what's right and refrain from doing what's wrong. How do you know what's right and what's wrong? That's what the Torah is here for. Veshapcha, and transformation by means of what? Hitbonanut. You have to contemplate the greatness of God, according to what your ability to understand, the holid mizet, to give birth, strong, powerful love also in your animal soul. Okay, so again, what's another name for the animal soul? We're talking about this animal soul. The animal soul is me. Me, what I think, what I want, my ego, simple, how do you say, desire to succeed, to survive, to exist, to eat, to drink, to sleep, to the normal day-to-day activities, everything that normal person does. The universities are filled with them, the encyclopedias are filled with them, the news is filled with it. Natural, normal living. That's called the animal soul. That's how we started the class off today, that thinking about God is not a very, how do you say, popular pastime in the world. In fact, very, very few people do think, and those people who do think about God, they've been misinformed or lied to that God is something spiritual, or he's a person, or he's some sort of and his goal is to bring you into heaven. Or they do think properly about God. Right? But they don't feel it. How long can you think about something that's not real to you? If it's totally not real, then what are you supposed to think about? So that's what the Rebbe is trying to make it real. That's what's called the natural soul. The natural soul will eventually come also to love God. How is the natural soul going to come to love God? We'll see in a second. The answer is because the angels do. And when we read about the angels, how they're burning up to God, and those angels are the source of our natural soul, because the angels, their whole thing is nature. That's their nature, but they just have spiritual nature. When we understand that they're flaming up to God, that the spiritual is not satisfying them, that they want the creator, so the same thing is by us. We will want the creator. But the big difference is that where is the creator found? The Creator is found everywhere. He's creating the spiritual, he's creating the physical, and mostly he's found in this physical world. First of all, you have to have eskaf, you have to force yourself. The three garments of the soul, force yourself to think positively, speak positively, and act positively. And conversely, you have to force yourself not to think negatively, not to speak negatively, not to do negatively. Sur me'rav aseh tov, turning from bad and doing good. And afterwards, you can come to a higher level, which is called eshapcha, transformation. Gam pirish mina behema, that's what it means from the animal. You have to bring from the animal. Remember, that's what I showed you in the beginning of the class. Kadum v'lo'el, like we said before, shekadei la'achnia, in order to subjugate and to refine your animal soul, this is by means of its source. What's the source? That's what I was saying before. The source of our natural ego, personality, normal, healthy, human feelings and way of looking at the world comes from what's called the face of the ox on the throne of God. That was in the vision of Isaiah and Ezekiel. They saw the face of the ox and of an eagle and of a lion. Zeu Shemazkirin. That's why we mentioned in the two blessings of Shema Yisrael how the angels and the angels, which are called Chayot HaKodesh, they're called the holy animals, that they sanctify and they coronate God. Right? If you look over there, you'll see that take a Jewish prayer book, you'll see it's a big long quotation from Ezekiel. Shemizeh, from this, a person, that your animal soul gets excited. Now, people might not believe that there's such a thing as as God, right? But angels, it's a little bit more, close to us to believe. An angel came down and he spoke. An angel smote this. He did, right? From Isaiah. An angels are these big spiritual powers, and it's spoken about. This person is like an angel. It's even in common language, the angelic face so what are these angels? These angels are units of spiritual consciousness. And it says there's an infinite number of them. There's like 100,000 in every camp, and every gadud, and there's no limit to the number of camps of angels. So there's an infinite number of angels. Some of them are on the side of kindness, they're under the angel Mechoel, and some of them are severity, some are burning up, and some are not burning up. Then there's the different types of angels and different levels of angels. Each world there's angels and angels and angels. What are all these angels doing? What are all these angels? The same thing that we're doing. What are we doing? Egotistical things. The thing is that by them, the angels, they're not interested in cellular phones and all these stupid things. That's how do you say, small change for them. That's playing in the toilet. Like a little child. The angels are interested in big stuff, right? The angels, what do they want? Money. They have money. What's money? They want eternal things, pleasures. They want that. That's their life. That's their food. That's their nature. So the angels, they happen to be holy. They're interested in God. They're surrendering to God. When we think, wow, these angels are infinitely great, and they're surrendering themselves to God, first of all, maybe there really is such a thing as God. Maybe there is God. I mean, if all these angels are so excited about something, it can't be that they just all, took, what's it called? They used to have crack or something, cocaine activates you, maybe they're just all, what do you say, on a craze, infinite numbers of angels, they're all calling out to God, right? They're all insane. What's it called? Crazy. Or maybe we could say, maybe Isaiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, they saw these big angels. It says in the Torah that maybe they were, something's wrong with them. Maybe, or we can say, no, maybe these things really do exist. I mean, there's been really, intellectual, very intelligent, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he certainly believed all these things. Certainly believed all these things. So anyway, whatever you want to say, if you're interested in getting excited about God or thinking about does God exist, so one of the ways of doing it is by thinking about the angels. And all these angels, all they're thinking about is God. So it must be that God really exists. Must be. That's what the angels say. Nevertheless, even if you say the angels exist and that they all believe in God, and it's still, it requires constant faith in God. This whole thing of God and believing God, it's above understanding. It's above and beyond understanding. As soon as you think you understand it, then there's going to come an equal opposite reason for you not to understand. Just the simple reason if God is so good and we're God's sons and God cares about us and all the angels are screaming to God, God controls the whole world. God can do everything he wants to. So why was there a Holocaust? Why was there so much trouble for the Jewish people? What's happened? It doesn't make any sense. And there were babies that were killed and there was this, that makes sense. Doesn't make any sense. These are terrible, awesome, how do you say, tests, questions. In other words, basically, we don't understand what God is, but nevertheless, the commandment to love God is no less, and to make the situation, leave the situation the way it is and say the world is bad, that just makes everything worse. We have to do something to make it better. And one of the ways to do it, how do we do it? You can't fix other people up. You have to fix yourself up. You have to take your animal, namely, that's what's called the face of the ox on the on the altar. That's what we got up to yesterday. Upirish, that's what it means, mina bakar, mina tzon. Namely, these are two different levels in the animal soul. Some people have an animal soul that's like an ox. Shor nagach, he's a goring ox. This is gavurus kashos. Namely, he's angry, gets angry at the drop of a hat. Everything has to go his way like an ox, right? Is his nature. Shamira ra, that this bad character trait is betagburis, it's very strong by this person. And this is called a bakar. Why is it called a bakar? Because it boils. Har tach nut, because it burns like an ox, right? Some people have an animal soul, which is like it's not so volatile. This is like the Yetzer HaShabo, Uyoter Bal Taiva. He just has big desires. He's something like a sheep. Sheep, he's not so volatile and so, how do you say, belligerent. It's just, okay, having a good time. Elisha and Bali Taiva, they just go after their desires. Anyway, each and every person has this animal inside of it. And that's what it says, Mina Bakarom, in its own takribu at Korbanchem. Each person has to sacrifice. Everybody knows himself. Your nature can be used for good, but it can also be used for selfishness and to take you away from the good. Then if you work on yourself and you make an effort, then your connection to the creator of the universe and to good will be more permanent because you did it yourself. That's what it says. Draw me, God, draw me after you, and we will run. This is from Song of Songs. Let's see, can we do this? Here we go. Here we are. Here we are. Look at this. Here is, 1 second, 1 minute, 1 minute. 1 minute. What happened over here? Here it is. Here it is. Sure. There we go. See, here we got the Song of Songs. Look at this. I did a little bit of homework over here. Here's the song. Right in the beginning of Song of Songs, there's 8 chapters in the Song of Songs. Shira Shirin. This is King Solomon. And here it says, the Song of Songs that is to King Solomon. He kissed me with the kisses of his mouth because your love is better than wine. Right? You can see the whole thing is plural, masculine, feminine, goes back and forth. Okay. Here's the sentence we're after. Mashacheni, draw me, acharecha, after you, ne rutza, and we will run. Draw me after you, and we will run. So the simple meaning is, God took the Jews out of Egypt. He drew us after him, and narutza, and then us and God together, we ran to Mount Sinai. God drew me, the Jewish people, and then we together, we ran to Mount Sinai. Hevi'ani Amelech, and the king brought me Chadarav into his chambers. That's the holy temple. Negila v'nismach habach, we will rejoice and we will be happy with you. Okay, all of this whole Song of Songs is just allegories and metaphors and hints at other things and mysteries. The whole Torah is also that, but the rest of the Torah has simple meaning, and below that, there's all these hidden meanings. By the Song of Songs, there is no surface meaning. It's all hidden meanings. The whole thing is a big, how do you say, hinting at something else. Okay, let's go back to where we were. Oh, see, you got the whole business over here. See, this is really good. 1 second. 1 minute. No. Oh, I see what's going on over here. Okay, good. Let's go back. There we go. That's Mashacheni Acharecha Nerutza. Mashacheni, he, God, he will draw me, singular. That's the arousal from above, that God arouses our love, our natural love, in the godly soul, first of all. And Acharecha Nerutza, that one it says afterwards we will run. This is talking about plural. This is talking about two desires, the godly soul and the animal soul. That what it says, we will run. It means that my godly soul is there, but it's latent. God has to wake it up, arouse it, so that I feel that God really exists and that God really cares. And after that, I start to think about what God is, think about the angels, think about whatever you want to, that God is creating me. Then the animal soul also starts to think, listen, it's worthwhile to do what God wants. God is creating me. I owe it to him. I owe it to him. What am I going to get in return? What am I going to get in return? What is God going to get in return? God's doing everything. He's giving me everything. I owe him everything. I have to return to him. That's what's called doing tshuva, returning to God what you owe him. Another meaning. That's what it means. Yafeh et ra'iti ketirza. Okay, etc. And afterwards it says, Havieni Melech Hadarav. Then afterwards it says, the king brought me into his chambers. He brought me into his chambers. What's this talking about? Chadarav, this is talking about the 6 orders of Mishna. Okay, up to now we've been sort of spiritual. This is sort of, spiritual stuff, and you have to love God. That's really beautiful, and the angels are all crying out to God, and because God is so good and God is so wonderful, God is giving us life. Life is such a beautiful thing, so good. But now let's get into the details. Now we're getting to the details. What are the details? Learning Torah. Learning Torah is a commandment. In fact, learning Torah in a way is the most important commandment in Judaism, because everything is in the Torah. Loving your neighbor as yourself, Rabbi Akiva said that's the main commandment, but that's a sentence in the Torah. When God took us out of Egypt, the purpose was to give us the Torah. In the Holy of Holies was the Torah, the 10 Commandments. But the 10 Commandments, how it is in the Torah, has to be explained. God purposely gave the Torah in a way that it is not understood at face value. None of it. Even the 10 Commandments. 10 Commandments that are written everywhere. Who does believe in the 10 Commandments? The 10 Commandments cannot be taken at face value. It does not necessarily mean exactly what is written. For instance, the 10 Commandments, the commandment not to steal, which is one of the 10 Commandments, does not mean not to steal money. It's referring to not kidnapping people. And there's details also over there. You have to kidnap somebody. You have to use him, use the person. You have to. The prohibition to steal money is in a different place in the Torah. It's forbidden to steal money. It's forbidden. Of course it is. But that's not the 10 Commandments. The same thing, the 10 Commandments, honor your mother and father. How are you supposed to honor them? What are you supposed to do? Keep the day of Shabbat day. Make it holy. What are you supposed to keep? What is Shabbat? Which day is Shabbat? One of the 10 Commandments. You have to keep the Shabbat day. Where are you supposed to keep it? In your closet, in your room, right? You're supposed to guard the Shabbat. I am God that took you out of Egypt. Don't worship any other gods. Here you have all these other religions that claim that they're replacing Judaism. They worship other gods. They don't worship the God that took us out of Egypt, but they reinterpret it. So everything in the Torah has to be interpreted, even the 10 Commandments, properly. That's the Mishnah. That's the idea of the Mishnah. The Mishnah, that these are the aspects of God, the Mishnah. 6 orders of Mishnah, laws of damages, laws of women, laws of this. This corresponds to Chesed, Mishnah, Machadarav. God took me, it says he took me into his chambers. What's his chambers? Chesed Din rachamim. Chesed is what's permissible. Din is what's forbidden. Rachamim is what links them all together. They're all the will of God. Chesed, din, rachamim. That's the Mishnah. The Mishnah is what's permissible, what's forbidden, and never to forget that it's the word of God. That's the rachamim. That's the mercy part. This is the first letters, cheder, chesed, din, rachamim. Shemehem, that from this is drawn down what's kosher, what's puzzle, what's permissible, what's forbidden. Tameh v'tor, what is impure, what is pure. Let's go to the next page. There we go. Okay, that's what it means. Learning the Mishnah. Jewish people, when they learn the Mishnah, that is going into the chamber of God. Chamber is cheder. Cheder is chesed, din, barachim. What's permissible, what's forbidden. The Havienu, that's what it means. God will bring me. He brought me. Havieni, God brought me into his chambers. God taught me the Torah already before I was born. That's what it says, a child in the womb of his mother, a Jewish child in the womb of his mother, he is taught the whole entire Torah. Namely, while he's just a soul, the Ibor, this is not just when he's a fetus, when his soul, before his soul comes into a body, it's being taught the whole Torah, because the Torah is the blueprint for the world. That's before the world was created. And the Torah is the instruction book of why God wants there to be the world, what we're supposed to do. So it says that's the reason that we're born. So a child is taught the whole entire Torah before he comes out. Even the soul of the child, it's embedded in the soul of every single Jew. That's what it says in another place. We're saying, look, and he's giving us all sorts of places to look. To look. And afterwards, then, okay, so that's what it means. Then when a Jew learns the Torah, then afterwards this gives the power that will shine to him the light of God, the koach ha'ava, and this love and this fear to be Meshacheni, that God will draw us. So what does it mean? First of all, we learn the Torah. That's doing on our part. And then God reacts and he sends us down this inspiration. And then we react to what God did and we run with God, love, and then God gives us even a bigger blessing. So that's the whole point that we're trying to say over here. Adam ki yakriv, the man is talking about God, and he makes us come close. He inspires us. Says the Rebbe, sometimes God does it on his own without any encouragement from our part. But on a standard, regular, steady basis, constant basis, the way to get this inspiration is by learning the Torah. When a person learns the Torah, and he learns, of course, thinking that it's God's Torah, so this makes him more of a vessel to receive this inspiration from the Creator, to open up our mind and say, hey, I'm being created for a purpose. I'm being created, number one, and I'm being created for a purpose, number two, and God is enabling me to do this purpose, but I have to do it. God will help me. This is the drawn down Esrus L'Data, in order to draw down this arousal from above of a person, ki yakrib, this is by means of learning the Torah. Shehu bechinas, this is the level of Adam. That's the level, we said the Torah is also called Adam. God is called Adam, and the Torah is also called Adam. Why? Because the Torah, what is a man? A man has limbs, veins, arteries. The same thing with the Torah. The Torah has 248 positive limbs. Those are the 248 positive commandments. Those are the 248 limbs of the king. And the 365 prohibitions in the Torah, that corresponds to the 365 blood vessels. This is very mentioned all over, very commonly mentioned, that's what it means, that we are the twins of God, Taimati, because when we learn the Torah, we make God here. I don't know what these blood vessels are. I don't know how you count them. I mean, you have blood vessels for sure. I don't know how you count these. I also don't know how you count the limbs. This, because it says there's another place, what is it in the Talmud, in, what is it, in in Olot, I think also in Kalim. Anyways, in Torah, that it says that a person has 248 bones in his body. 248 bones in his body. That's not the same thing as the limbs, because the limbs are also the heart and the lungs and the brain. They don't have any bones. Anyway, what exactly they are, I don't know. I've asked a lot of people what they are. They also don't know, but there is, that's what it is. 248 limbs of the king, 365 blood vessels. That corresponds to the 248 positive commandments and the 365 negative commandments, like it says in another place. Look, and therefore, by means of us learning the Torah, we draw down. How do you say we inspire God? Ki yakri, that God comes and makes us come close to Him. Like it says, Korov Hashem l'chol korov. God is close to anyone who calls it. This is in, what is it, Psalm 145, which we say at least twice every day. God is close. 3 times we say more. Like it says, God is close to anyone who calls Him, to those who call Him in truth. And there's only truth, there's only Torah. You want to call God. Now listen, there are a lot, all the religions in the world are based on someone having some sort of a spiritual experience. Spiritual experience. Spiritual experiences are not necessarily godly experiences. Angels and spirit and this, all these are creations of God. We're talking about God Himself. And the spiritual is a ladder. So that's the Jacob's ladder to the spirit. But the main thing is the essence of God. That's the creator of the spiritual, or even more, the reason for the creator of the spiritual. And that in God's essence is the Torah and the Jewish people. It says the Jewish people are even before. That's why a Jew, if he transgresses the whole Torah, but God will forgive him, because that's also the mercy part of the Mishnah. But God gave the Torah for the Jews. Look what it says, etc. So when we learn the Torah, because the Torah is not just a book that God gave us a long time ago, and the rabbis, they interpreted it like 2,000. The Torah God gave 3,300 years ago, and the rabbis interpreted it like 2,000 whatever years ago, right? So no, it's not so. The Torah is eternal. The Torah was there before time, and the Torah it creates time. If there's time, such a thing as time, it's because it comes from the Torah. The same thing with the rabbis say, the interpretations of the rabbis, they did not invent these, they discovered them. And sometimes they argue, sometimes they're different opinions. That's because we don't understand God. We can't understand how there can be two opinions, one opposite the other, and both of them are true. How can it possibly be? That's what the Talmud is. From this, because when we learn the Talmud, when we learn this, we're actually dealing with the essence of God. And even though it doesn't say that God is speaking, it says that Rabbi Akiva is speaking. And that's what it says, Ata Tetzava, and etc., that God, in other words, that's what it means, that by learning the Torah, it says, Az Yachzik B'Ma'ozi. It's a sentence in Isaiah, that you will hold on to my stronghold. Yaseh Shalom Li, Shalom Yaseh Li. There's 2 types of peace that are made when you learn the Torah. 2 times peace. That's why they have all these yeshivas, and Jews have been learning the Torah without stop, under the worst possible conditions. There could possibly be all sorts of Jews, right? Jews with different personalities, from different languages, from different words. Jews that some they don't get along with each other, Jews that don't get along with themselves. They learn the Torah. They learn the Torah because the Torah is pure. It makes peace in the world. Like it says, Shalom, Shalom, l'rachok l'karov. Why does the Torah make peace in the world? Because you see that God cares. These are God's laws. God cares about it. And when you do them, so you're connected to the Creator. And the whole essence of the Creator is peace. How does your body work? Right? It's got so many details, and there's a left side and there's the right side, and your heart has to beat and has to be in sync with your lungs and with your liver and with your this, and it all works. There has to be peace. It has to have one common goal, and that one common goal in your body is life, to live. And so it is with all the animals, all alive, everything that's alive. There has to be harmony and peace. The whole world, therefore, is being created by God. He's the source of peace. And that's the Torah. The whole world is created just so that the Jews will learn the Torah. Who would believe such a thing? But that's it. And since that it's so, And by the way, what is the proof of this? The proof, if you want to call it a proof. God took us out of Egypt. The Egyptians were a very spiritual people. I remember before I was religious, I read the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Ever read it? Anyway, there's also the Tibetan Book of the all these tremendously complicated spiritual levels and things like that. And they had all these gods that they worshiped, and they had good reasons for worshiping all these different gods. They all represented different powers and different things and different unifications with flows and this and that, right? And all these things exist. For sure they exist. For sure they exist. But God took us out of all that. He took us out of all that. Paro has ruled over the whole world. He took us out of all that. Why? To give us this book, the Torah. Right? That's what we say. 3 billion people. I'm sorry. I think of it. 3 million Jews felt God on Mount Sinai. And what did God do? What did he give to them? These supernatural powers that they could break faster than a speeding bullet and right, move mountains. And no, he gave them a book. What's it say in this book? Don't kill, don't steal. That's it. You put us in Egypt for 210 years, hard labor, did all these amazing miracles, split the sea, bread run, just to tell us not to kill. That's the whole thing. That's Judaism. That when a Jew does even the most simple things, but you're doing it because the creator of the universe wants you to, that's what God wants. And since it's so, Nimshach Mized is drawn down also, Shalom, peace, the Rachok, that there will be peace in the whole entire world, because the whole entire world will do according to manufacturer's instructions. That's what it means, a man, when he, man was talking about God, when he draws you close, that you should, and that's what it means, that you should make the sacrifices. This is talking about in the sacrifices in the holy temple. Tishmeru lahakrivli shomer. This is the Mishnah, that by means of this you can protect yourself and stop and by doing not good things, and by means of this you come close to God. Okay, all of this now we're talking about. This whole thing is. One second. 1 minute. That's what it means. Daber b'nei Israel v'amarta aleim adam ki yakriv. That's what it means. Speak to the Jewish people, namely the words of Torah, and by means we say the words of Torah v'amarta, and we say the words of Torah. Then adam, then God reacts, and He makes us even closer. He gives us more inspiration. And then afterwards it says you can bring from the behemoth, from the animals that we have inside of us, etc. That's mainly by means of the commandments. The Torah, learning Torah, that activates our mind, that activates our mouth, but the commandments, that activates our body, our speech. The commandments deal with the body. Each commandment has a special charm, an ability, la'alot et nefesh habahamis, to work with the animal soul and to attach it to the infiniteness of God. It says tzedakah, that's the thing of charity. That's what we learned in the thing about charity. It elevates us. And tomorrow we'll learn what this is relevant to going out of Egypt. God willing, we'll learn this tomorrow. Now let's do the Sikha of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Devar Malchut. Here we go.